So here's my last question, and you mentioned the press. You've been the subject of press coverage for like a long time.
Sure.
But very intense media coverage for the last year.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it seems that way anyway. Yeah. How has your opinion of the press changed?
Well, so my first company, way back in the day, in the sort of pre-Cambrian era of the internet or the World Wide Web, was up to, we actually helped bring a number of the media organizations online. So most newspapers are not online. We helped bring hundreds of newspapers and magazines online for the first time. We added a tremendous amount of functionality to their websites with our software. The New York Times Company and Knight Ridder were major investors and were on the board. I spent a lot of time in newsrooms, so I'm not unfamiliar with the media. I got to see it firsthand all the way back in like 1996, so it's been a while. Sort of traditional media certainly had revenue challenges because as online advertising has increased and it's much more measurable and much more sort of direct, you can say like, I spent this amount and got this output. It's interactive, unlike say a newspaper or broadcast TV. You're kind of guessing with a newspaper and broadcast TV.
That's right.
Whereas if something's online, you can tell immediately that that person saw the ad and bought the product. It's very, very immediate. So. And it's actually more effective if the advertising is customized to the individual. So the advertising is more likely to be relevant. Whereas broadcast, if it's being shown to everyone, it's going to be irrelevant to most people. The result of that has been a huge shift in advertising revenue from say newspapers and TV to the Googles and Facebooks of the world, and a tiny bit to Twitter. I think Twitter gets like 1% of advertising revenue. Is quite tiny. So this has meant a shrinking pie, obviously, for most of the traditional media companies, and made them more desperate to get clicks, to get attention, and it's made them when they're in sort of a desperate state, they will then tend to really push headlines that get the most clicks, whether those headlines are accurate or not. So it's resulted, in my view, I think most people would agree, a less truthful, less accurate news. Because they just got to get a rise out of people, and I think it's also increased the negativity of the news because I think humans instinctually respond more to I think we have an instinctual negative bias, which kind of makes sense in that, like, if like, let's say, like, it's more important to remember where was the lion or where was the tribe that wants to kill my tribe than where is the bush with berries.
Yes.
Like, one's like a permanent negative outcome, and the other is like, well, I might go hungry. So, meaning like there's an asymmetry in, sort of involved asymmetry in negative versus positive stuff. And also historically, the negative stuff would have been quite proximate, like it would have been near, represented a real danger to you as a person if you heard negative news. Because historically, like a few hundred years ago, we're not hearing about what negative things are happening on the other side of the world or on the other side of the country. We're hearing about negative things in our village, things that could actually have a bad effect on you. Whereas now we're hearing about, the news very often seems to attempt to answer the question, what is the worst thing that happened on Earth today? And you wonder why you're sad after reading that, and then use the most inflammatory language. Because every day they got to sell the advertising, even if it happened to be a slow news day.
Do you read any legacy media outlets?
I read a lot. So, I mean, I really get most of my news from Twitter at this point. So, it is the #1 news source, I think, in the world at this point.
Yes.
And thus, all the more important that we strive to be accurate. And it's not just a question of accuracy, but we also need to allow the people to develop the narratives that are of interest to them. So it's possible for news to be technically truthful, but they're still deciding what the narrative is. Like let's say you wanted, let's say you took a photo of someone and they had a little zit. Now you could zoom in on the zit and make it look gigantic, like Mount Vesuvius, and it is still true that they have a zit. It's just not the size of Mount Vesuvius, and they, it doesn't properly reflect their face. Their face is not one giant zit. But you could say like, well, it's true, but have they lied? They haven't. They've just happened to zoom in on the zit and not look at the rest of the face, type of thing. So. And what I'm saying is that that choice of narrative is extremely important, and at the point at which if there's only like say half a dozen editors-in-chief, or maybe even fewer than that, maybe it's only 3 or 4 that are deciding what the narrative is, what's going to be on the front page, then that's a form of manipulation of public opinion. I think the public often doesn't appreciate, and it's perhaps the most pernicious of all.
That's right, because it's the most subtle.
Yeah, it's the most subtle. They haven't said an untrue thing. They've just chosen what they're going to focus on.